The Marvel Cinematic Universe is enormous. Its scope ranges from gods with hammers, to men in iron suits, to talking raccoons, to a dude with a bow. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Today I'm talking about all the MCU movies from Iron Man right up to Age of Ultron. Consider these my mini reviews for all these films. At the end I'll decide what is the best MCU movie and what is the worst. Also, if some of my out of 10 ratings conflict with other ratings I've already given movies, it's because over time when I see a movie more and more, my opinion might change a bit. Alright, got all that? Let's start. First up is Iron Man, the one that started it all. I'm pretty sure this movie took most people by surprise, because it's so great. Most people at the time didn't know who Iron Man was, with the exception of comic book fans. This movie changed that drastically. It has everything you'd want from a superhero action movie, or just a summer blockbuster in general. Charismatic lead actors, awesome action, great visual effects, and AC/DC. The thing that makes it more than just a generic summer action movie is that it's really smart and really well written.
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
And what do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
That's not bad.
Firstly, all the performances are great. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeff Bridges, Terrence Howard, but the obvious standout is Robert Downey Jr. After his really dark drug and jail period in the 90s, this was really his big comeback, along with Tropic Thunder, and put him on the road to becoming the most paid and one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood. Secondly, the action in this movie is so great. It's just so cool. I know when you say the action is cool, it's usually not that big of a positive. Like, yeah, the movie sucked, but the action was cool. But no, this action is amazing. When Iron Man is taking out those terrorists, it's spectacular. And the Iron Man suits feel real and like they have some weight to them, something that later movies, especially Age of Ultron, kind of failed at. The only negative I can think of for this movie is that the last action scene feels very tacked on, and the villain just goes insane for no reason. But that's not such a big thing. Overall, this movie was a great way to start off the cinematic universe, and I give it a 9.2 out of 10. And that end credit scene, man, too good. So then we got a Hulk movie, and it's good. It's just kind of a bland movie. I mean, everyone in it is good. Liv Tyler's good, Tim Roth is good, Edward Norton isn't the best Hulk, but he's good. Everything's just good or fine. The first couple times Bruce Banner Hulks out, it was really cool, because he was in the shadows and you don't really see him that much, but then he shows up in full daylight, and that was a pretty good scene. And then the end fight in Harlem between Hulk and Abomination, that was good. It was probably the best part of the movie, but if I'm being completely honest, the special effects aren't that great. I really like this scene. It's what we'd been waiting for the whole movie. But the two characters look like video game characters fighting each other, and it sort of takes you out of it. Whenever Bruce Banner and Betty Ross are together, those scenes are kind of touching, but whenever Bruce Banner's by himself and or texting a scientist, the movie's kind of boring. There isn't a lot to say about this thing. It's a serviceable movie. It's the best Hulk solo movie we've seen so far, but that isn't really saying much since there have only been two and the other one is garbage. Sorry to any Hulk fanatics out there who'd like me to get more in depth with this, but I saw it and I was like, okay, that was good. Moving on to another movie. In the end, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Mainly for the Hulk scenes, and the performances, and some touching moments. It's good, but it's also just kind of bland. So then before moving on to any new properties, Marvel went ahead and made a sequel to their most successful movie. And so, Iron Man 2 came to be. And this film has gotten a lot of hate. But personally, I like it. I don't love it, I don't think it's great, it's definitely not as good as the first Iron Man, it doesn't feel like an Iron Man movie as much as it does an Avengers prequel, but it's still a fun action movie. First off, it has great action once again. The fight on the Grand Prix track is amazing. And I'm gonna say it, the coolest Iron Man armor is that briefcase armor. Just the whole sequence where he put it on was jaw-dropping. The dialogue is also good, not as good as the first, and the cast is great. Robert Downey Jr. of course returns in the role he was born for, but Don Cheadle and Sam Rockwell are also great new additions. As for what does not work, the plot is all over the place, with conveniences that are sort of ridiculous, and subplots that don't really lead anywhere. Like, Tony Stark's dying of arc reactor poisoning, but now he isn't, because he made a new element even though it was impossible to make, but his dad hid the formula in a map of the Stark Expo. It also does feel a lot like a commercial for the Avengers. Black Widow, while she's great in the movie, it does feel like they put her in not for creative integrity, but because, hey, she's gonna be in the Avengers. The villain is also not that intimidating, and the entire sequence where Tony Stark was throwing his drunk birthday party didn't seem that necessary or interesting. At the end of the day, Iron Man 2 isn't a great film, but it's a fun film, if you just kind of turn off your brain for most of the plot. I'll give it a 7.2 out of 10. I won't say you should go out of your way to find it, but if it's on TV, I'd recommend you watch it. So then Thor happened, and it's pretty great. First off, I don't really like Thor in the comics, he's just not my cup of tea, but this movie made me like the character. You see his growth as a person over the course of the movie, which is kind of ironic since he isn't a person. The casting is also perfect. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, these are some of the best casting choices ever. Even little roles like Anthony Hopkins as Odin. I also love the visual style of Asgard in this movie. Everything looks sleek and really cool. Props to Kenneth Branagh for that. The action is great, especially because it was different from anything we'd seen in the MCU. It wasn't a bunch of robots hitting each other other or two big Shrek-like creatures hitting each other. It was unique. It also was a surprisingly funny movie.
I need a horse.
We don't have horses, just dogs, cats, birds.
And give me one of those large enough to ride.
There wasn't much in this movie that I didn't like. The romance, yeah, it's kinda cliched. The story as well, the fish out of water premise. My only big complaint is that it's a little bit forgettable. It might just have been me, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, that was cool. And then the next day, I sorta just forgot about it. I don't know, maybe I just have amnesia. But in the end, I really enjoyed this one. I'd give it an 8.7 out of 10. Sorry if my rating system is a bit too specific, but that's just how I roll. And then we got a Captain America movie. And again with this one, quite a few people do not like it, but I kinda love it. It was also one of the first superhero movies I ever saw, so it holds a special place in my heart. Chris Evans is a great choice for Steve Rogers. He's also just a great actor in general. He can be cocky, he can be kinda nerdy, he can be hardcore, and he can be super Boy Scout patriot. The first 40 minutes or so of this movie, when Steve Rogers is the little wimp, the special effects are incredible. They put Chris Evans' head, this huge muscular man's head, onto this little guy's body, and it looks just so realistic. It doesn't take you out of the movie at all. Then he becomes actual Chris Evans muscle guy, and that first scene when Cap is chasing that Nazi through the streets of Brooklyn, that's a great scene. Then the rest of the movie is really just action scene after action scene of Captain America punching Nazis, and that's something that a lot of people hate about this movie, but I'm fine with it. It's cool action. Yes, the movie is pretty unevenly paced, and yes, the special effects aren't that great towards the end, and yes, the tone does change a bit too much, and yes, the ending is really just a setup for the Avengers, but in the end, it's a fun, cool, engaging, exciting film. I can understand why people hate it, but I love it. In the end, I give the first Avenger a 9 out of 10. Sue me, I enjoyed the movie. And so then we finally got the giant culmination superhero fest that all these movies had led up to. And this was a pretty big risk for Marvel. If you have all these movies building up to something, that something better be pretty great. And the Avengers is pretty great. Not just great, amazing. When I walked out of the Avengers, it was my favorite movie of all time. And it stayed like that for a while. Now, I've seen a couple movies that I think are a bit better, but the Avengers is still so awesome. If you ask me, it's the best superhero movie. Is The Dark Knight amazing? Yes. But as far as a really fun film that I can just sit down and love every time I watch, the prize goes to the Avengers. This could have been a really messy movie, with all these characters pulling for the spotlight. And everyone still is pulling for the spotlight, but Joss Whedon did the movie in a way so that everyone got a decent amount of attention. Except for Hawkeye, because, well, that's Hawkeye. Every single joke lands and makes this movie a great action comedy. And the action is great. The Battle of Manhattan is fast-paced, intense, fun, larger than life. I could go on for hours. And just seeing all of these characters together for the first time, fighting the best MCU bad guy, I could seriously make a whole review for this movie, which I probably will at some point. But in the end, I absolutely love the Avengers, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I give the Avengers a 10 out of 10. So then we got another Iron Man movie. This movie had to fight a pretty steep uphill battle, because it had to follow up the epicness of the Avengers. And did it succeed? Sort of. Is it as good as the Avengers? No. Is it as good as the first Iron Man? No. But is it still a really fun blockbuster and a good superhero movie? Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people did not care for this movie, and you know what? I can understand that. It's one of those movies that I really liked, but if someone else didn't, I totally get it. So what did I like about it? Well, first off, Robert Downey Jr. gives a great, funny, charismatic performance as always, and he and Don Cheadle have really good chemistry. Secondly, the action. The Iron Man Air Force One rescue is one of the best Marvel action scenes. And that last action scene in the dockyard with all the Iron Men, that was pretty great. Oh, and this might seem like an odd thing to mention, but the theme song is really great too. The only reason I mention it is because it was in Age of Ultron, so it's fresh in my mind. And when Iron Man 3 came out, that theme was my life. As far as what doesn't work, well, there are a couple big plot holes, and normally I don't really care about plot holes in movies, like The Avengers has tons, but it doesn't take me out of it. In this movie, some scenes are just illogical. One of the smartest guys on the planet tells the terrorist to come and get him. Then, out of the 42 Iron Man suits he has, he puts on the one that doesn't fully work, and then is surprised when the terrorist comes and tries to kill him. And really, the main complaint is the villain, which, major spoiler alert for Iron Man 3, the Mandarin isn't really the Mandarin, and Aldrich Killian is the villain. I thought this wasn't an amazing idea on Marvel's part, but being a guy who isn't a huge Iron Man comic reader, I wasn't really attached to the Mandarin character. But if I was really attached to him, then yeah, I wouldn't really like this movie. In the end, Iron Man 3 is a fun romp with lots of humor, good acting, and some great action. It does have a couple of dumb moments and a disappointing villain, but I'll still give it an 8.5 out of 10. Then people were like, hey, Thor made a lot of money, and so we got this movie. This is what I'd say is generally speaking what people would think of when they hear superhero movie. A big, buff hero has to stop the destruction of the universe, and in the end, he gets the girl. And in that, the movie is pretty cliched and predictable. Also, the villain in the movie is the most generic, forgettable villain ever. But the negatives are definitely outweighed by the positives. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is still great as Thor, but of course, Loki stole the show. The action is really cool, especially the last fight with the portals. The supporting cast are generally speaking pretty good. One of the coolest parts of the movie is when Heimdall turns around and takes out this giant alien ship. The other supporting characters are fine, but I can understand why people think there's too much comic relief. Nothing against Kat Dennings, but her character's role could have been toned down a bit. Overall, this is a good, fun, enjoyable movie with some flaws, but still, I'd recommend it. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. So this is one of the greats. The Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. I'm not even sure where to start. First of all, the characters. Captain America is great again, but the team in this movie is also great. Black Widow, Falcon, and Nick Fury. They don't feel shoehorned in at all. So here's the thing. I've said about these movies, yeah, the action is really cool. Lots of robots and gods and monsters and aliens and stuff. But the action in this movie is just phenomenal. All of it is great, especially Nick Fury's epic car machine gunfight. But the best scene is the Winter Soldier versus Captain America knife fight. It's so intense and immersively shot and just so amazing. The story in this movie is also really interesting, and it has one of the best plot twists in the MCU, which, if you think about it, isn't really saying that much, because the other one is the Mandarin twist. The only complaint that I can think of is that the Winter Soldier isn't really in the movie as much as you'd expect. Don't worry, when he's there, he's awesome, but he isn't really there enough to have the movie named after him. So I love this movie. I've seen it quite a few times now. It's gritty, it's intense, it's more like a spy movie than a superhero movie, and that's what I love about these Marvel movies. They stretch the bounds of what people consider the superhero movie genre. From me, it gets a 9.5 out of 10. So then Marvel's big risk came, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is now known as Marvel's big risk that paid off huge. Not just financially, but also critically. And I love this movie. Seriously, it is just so much fun. The best parts of it really come from the characters. All of the actors, even the ones that aren't professionals, are great and hilarious when they need to be. In the actual Guardians team, there is not one that I don't like. I might actually say that I like this team as an ensemble more than the Avengers. Also, on that note, I'm not saying this movie is better than the Avengers, but it had characters that were as great without the benefit of a couple solo movies leading up to it. The action is cool and is what I hope the new Star Wars movie has. That prison fight alone is so awesome. And of course, there is the Awesome Mix Volume 1, which fits in so well with this and has been what I listen to every day ever since this movie came out. The only complaint is the same with Thor the Dark World, as in the villain is kind of generic, but he still served his purpose. I gotta also say, this movie is hilarious. I haven't laughed this much in a superhero movie pretty much ever, and really, it's just so much fun. All of these Marvel movies are pretty fun, but by the end of this, you just have a smile on your face. Kind of like how I felt after seeing Kingsman. So overall, this movie has great action, great characters, great humor, great music, great everything. Sure, the villain could be a bit better, but him being underdeveloped does give us more time with the Guardians. I might get some hate for giving this movie a rating this high, but I'm gonna give it a 9.9 out of 10. If you haven't seen it, then you are seriously missing out. And finally, we've arrived at Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because I literally just made my review for it, so you can check that out by clicking here or the link in the description. Overall, I liked it a lot, but I was slightly disappointed by a couple things. I am excited to see it again, but I feel like it was a slight step down from Guardians of the Galaxy. I give it a 9 out of 10. Although the more I think about it, the score kind of decreases to an 8.5. Oh well. The main gist is, it's good and you should go see it. Remember, for more thoughts, watch my review. So those are my thoughts on all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I'm going to be completely honest. Along with Harry Potter, this is my favorite movie franchise of all time. And as for the best and worst, I'd say the best is the Avengers, and the worst is a toss-up between the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2, but the Incredible Hulk was a lot more bland than Iron Man 2. So, best, the Avengers. Worst, the Incredible Hulk. Anyway, I'm gonna ask the obvious question. What is your favorite Marvel movie and least favorite Marvel movie? Or, if you want, rank the movies from best to worst. While you're at it, you can hit the like button, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.